Happy 2022, everybody. It only feels like 2020 because it's not, but it is because 2020 refuses to end. For Dallas Cowboys Overtime, I am Fort Worth Star Telegram sports columnist Matt Kingle. That is Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr., and we are entering the final week of the NFL's regular season, and the first time ever, a 17th regular season game is on the calendar. First time ever. Clarence, good to see you again. Saw you on Sunday when the Dallas Cowboys decided not to show up until like the fourth quarter, I guess, in their loss to the Arizona Cardinals and AT&T Stadium owner Kyler Murray. Clarence, we've seen the Cowboys go sky high this season, and then they looked horrible against the Broncos. But of all their losses, and they haven't had many this season, that loss to the Cardinals on Sunday was easily the most troubling. Agree or disagree?
The Raiders loss. The Broncos loss. They're all troubling. This is troubling because it's the most recent one. You know, is there recency bias here? It's closer to the playoffs.
Yes, 100%.
I don't think they've been right since the Broncos loss. It's most troubling only because we were buying they had fixed things because they blew out a bad Washington team. You know, if you look back and how they've trended since that Denver loss, it's been par for the course.
Yeah, and we talked about it last week here on Overtime when they had won 3 in a row, and they hadn't looked very good in winning those games, but they had won 3 in a row, and then they, like you said, the night after Christmas, they destroyed Washington. Dak Prescott said it's the best he's felt in probably since before he hurt his ankle last season. So I think we all felt pretty good about it going into that Arizona game. And then right from jump, they looked bad. Now, as the game went on, hang on just a second, as the game went on, the theme became not so much what Kyler Murray was doing, what the defense was doing, the fact that Coach Bro, Cliff Kingsbury, put a clown suit on Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys. It was the refs. And all of a sudden, after the game, the theme is, well, we're playing against 2 teams. Now, the Cowboys lead the NFL in penalties, both in penalties and penalty yardage. But, Clarence, I hate when I hear teams like this saying, well, they're out to get us. Yeah. And it sounds to me like the Cowboys are saying they're out to get us.
Yeah, it's not just the Cowboys fans. You just scroll Twitter, and the media, because we're not trumping blaming the NFL and blaming Roger Goodell. We're not taking up for the Cowboys, but the team, the fans, the coach, the players just think the league is somehow out to get them. Tell me why the NFL would want to be biased against the team, the league's richest and most popular franchise, the one they put in prime time more than anybody. Just think of the ratings of the Super Bowl if the Cowboys are there and all the players. Why would they not want the Cowboys to succeed? And I just have a problem with, to me, all the crying and the wailing. It's probably, to me, I blame the coach for setting this tone.
Amen.
In the locker room.
Starts with him.
Yeah, he set this tone, and the players who've never won anything, were too eager to lap it up and buy into it instead of really being accountable for their actions. Because we can talk all we want about the officials and the non-calls, but let's talk about the Dak Prescott fumble. Let's talk about the Javon Curse dropped interception. Let's talk about them getting duped on the fake punt that led to a score. Let's talk about Greg Zuerlein missing 11 kicks this year. 6 field goals, 5 extra points, including 1 in that game that would have been a difference in a 3-point game. Let's talk about those. Let's talk about you getting duped into calling a timeout because you were asleep at the wheel on a field goal situation. If you're going to be a champion, you got to do it yourself. There's no such thing as excuses and blaming the official. No one cares. They don't hang excuses from AT&T Stadium.
No, and well, they're getting ready to the way this season's going. The thing that surprised me so much is you said it, I wrote it. This kind of language, rhetoric, that starts at the top, and that's starting with the head coach. Wade Phillips used to do it all the time. It drove me nuts. And I'm really surprised McCarthy's sitting there rubber stamping this kind of language, because I understood it when Leighton Vander Esch was talking about the fumble and even the point that he made, and Tank Lawrence and CeeDee Lamb, they all may have had a point. But when Dak Prescott, the one that shocked me was Dak Prescott saying, we understand there's basically inferring there's some kind of double standard. Are you kidding me? I mean, the only one who got it after that game was Micah Parsons, who's like, we can't let, one bad call affect us. We should have won that game. That's only a 3-point game. They should have won that game. Now, credit the Cardinals. The Cardinals whipped them. But of all the things that have happened this season, that by far and away is that team running around saying, well, it's the officials. We're playing against two teams.
Yeah,
No, you're not.
It's to me, you're setting up excuses when you don't win. And again, my problem with the Cowboys talking about, this is a special team and special season and we're different. Based on what? You've never won anything.
Ever.
You don't play well in big games and everything else, and you've never won anything, and so we don't know what you are or what type of team you are, what a super team looks like. You don't know what that is. You've never done it, and to sit up here and now set up this thing that there's some conspiracy by the NFL to somehow penalize you more than everybody else. When turn your head, don't jump off sides, okay? Don't hold. This offensive line, which was at one time the best in the league, has 52 penalties this year. They had 4 holding penalties against the Cardinals. That's a you problem.
That is. And at some point, and that's the part that surprises me so much, is that coming from McCarthy, he's not sitting there saying, we have to look at ourselves a little bit and be a little bit better. Now, did the officials miss calls? 100%. They
in every game. But every team.
Yep. And the same crew that called that game on Sunday at AT&T Stadium is the same crew that penalized the Cowboys 10 times against the Minnesota Vikings earlier this season. It's really weird. I didn't hear a lot of Cowboys complaining about those calls that night. Want to know why? Because they won. Spare me this. This is the officials' problem. No, this is your problem. And as we look now at the back, you talked about it, we've got every game but one played. And as we look now at the entire season, the Cowboys have had a great year regardless. They really have. You win 10, 11 games in the NFL, you've had a really good year. But Clarence, have they defeated anybody now that you look back on it, now that we're a week away from the end of the season, have they defeated anybody that said, well, that's a good win? That's something to be proud of. Or they just beat a lot of bad teams as a result of a 6-10 record from last season.
The Patriots. The Patriots, I think that, I don't think they had a winning record when they played the Cowboys, but they were on the come and they played the Cowboys well, certainly better than expected. And they've been lights out since that Cowboys game. So beating the Patriots at New England, that was a good win. Beating the Chargers on the road in week 2 was a good win. And we're finding out that possibly beating the Eagles was a good win. But by and large, most of their wins have come against tomato cans.
No, you're right. And even the Chargers win is a nice win, but Clarence, that's got to be one of the more disappointing teams in the NFL this season. They look like they've got a star quarterback, and they've just kind of been up and down.
No, I agree, but you can say that across the board. I mean, let's look at Green Bay. I mean, their division is full of the same mess. From you play who you play. My problem,
absolutely.
My problem with the Cowboys is just that on this roll that they've gotten on, it's been against the Giants. It's been against the Saints, who had a number of guys out. It's been against Washington, on a short week, and Washington with a number of guys out.
Minnesota, Atlanta,
New Orleans, basing your confidence on.
Yeah, but like you said, it's the NFL. This ain't college, and you go out and you beat them, and that's all you can do. And they did do that, whereas in years past they don't, or they stub their toe and they, middle around 500. They didn't do that this time. But the thing that's so disappointing about that game on Sunday was, they had said it, you had said it, measuring stick game, whatever you want to call it. That was a good team. And that was a good team that was struggling coming in. They had lost 3 in a row.
And played without a number of their starters because of injuries and COVID.
DeAndre Hopkins wasn't there. That's a big deal. AJ Green is not the same guy. Kyler Murray's awesome. But that was really disappointing because I think for the sake of their confidence and self-esteem, they needed to win that game, and they went out and spit the bit.
Yeah, which is, again, to me, why they lean so hard into the conspiracy of the NFL after the game, because they are the ones who talked about importance of this is a statement game and who we are, and we need to continue this role and be a playoff type team before we get in the playoffs. And so they didn't do that, and now you lean into this whole that everybody's against me and the officials cheating me. But at the end of the day, as Jerry said, if they're going to get where they're going to go, in the playoffs, they're going to have to win those type of games to beat those type of teams. That was a playoff team.
It was. It was
and so no matter what happens this week against the Eagles and how they decide to play it, and we'll go there. But you're going to have to find a way. There are no gimmies in the playoffs, and where the Cowboys have set themselves up with the playoffs and with the seeding, they will get a good team. They will get either the Cardinals most likely or the Rams. So they're going to have to come with their A game. There won't be any excuses.
No, there won't be any excuses. But this team, if there's one thing we've seen, at least on Sundays, that they will somehow manage to find them. Going into this game against Philadelphia, the Eagles are a big surprise with Jalen Hurts. As bad as they looked at different points this season, they've rallied for a 9-7 record, even though they're only 3-4 at home in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts has done a nice job. He's been much better than I thought he would, and looks like a playoff team. But now the question is, considering what's at stake, or specifically what is not at stake, Cowboys can't get the top seed. Most things are kind of set. Should they go ahead and play to win, or play to hold on, or play to protect their star players and sit guys out?
I mean, I think they need to pick and choose. I think they should sit Zeke. They should finally sit Zeke and give him a chance to rest. But I think that the past game, Dak Prescott and offense, they need to find a rhythm, and they need to somehow find some of that mojo, that magic they had earlier in the season, and so they can go in the playoffs on a roll and feeling good about what they're doing. So I think that, again, you sit Zeke, but you possibly play everybody else until it's a point where you don't need to play them. The NFL kind of trying to trick this thing up by moving the Cowboys up a day, so they still conceivably have things to play for. There's a chance they could move up to the second or the third seed based on what happens Sunday. So they won't know that before they play. So this forces them, to a certain extent, if they want to play and have a chance to put themselves in position to possibly move up and take advantage of some things, some long shot things that happen on Sunday, they have to play to win.
I think in this particular case, there's a couple of guys, if you can get away with sitting down, Zeke, Tyron Smith. I can't really think anybody else. Really,
Marcus Lawrence, I would sit him.
Tank, yeah. I mean, he has looked so good this season, and one of the reasons he's looked so good is because he's played limited games because he had that foot injury earlier this season. But for the most part, I think if you're playing, you got to go for it and get that win. You mentioned Dak Prescott in the passing game. After the game, Cardinals safety Budda Baker made a point of saying, we did everything we could to disguise and confuse our coverages at the line of scrimmage because we think Dak Prescott is much better, a much better thrower when he kind of has a good idea, a good read what's coming. And the only way to stop him is to really confuse him. We've seen other theories about how defenses have slowed Dak Prescott. Do you buy any of them?
I mean, they look good in the fourth quarter. They look good when they're in hurry up, and I think that there are some things that teams are doing to slow Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, of course. But the Cowboys also played a role in slowing themselves. They had a number of drop passes.
Penalties, the penalties, Clarence. Remember the penalties?
It's the holding penalties. I mean,
yeah, but the officials have it for the Cowboys.
They shot themselves in the foot. I mean, they did that to themselves. You had a false start on the center, that killed a potential scoring drive. So I mean, I'm sure there's some. Again, it's everybody's job. A team's job is to do whatever they can to have their best strategy against an opposing offense. There are things that teams have done this year that have changed the look of things for Patrick Mahomes. Okay. And across the league, you do that. They're supposed to do some things to try to force Dak to think and hold on to the ball and whatever else. But at the end of the day, the Cowboys moved the ball well enough late. They should have done it earlier. They shot themselves in the foot with some things that they did on their own. Dak Prescott had a fumble on his own. It had nothing to do with the looks the defense was giving him. Those are more things that are troubling the Cowboys than necessarily what the defense is doing.
He looked, and you know what? As a team, they just looked flat to start that game. They just had the look of an arrogant team. That they were going to show up.
I think they felt that everything. They put 56 on Washington. Everything is back, and we just go out there and we're going to be who we are. And they didn't. Again, it's another time. We have to watch this team because they start feeling good about themselves, and they let some things slide. And I agree. They did look flat to start that game. Very much
Well,
so.
coming into Saturday night's game in Philadelphia, the Cowboys are 11-5. Philadelphia is 9-7. We'll do our little prediction here right now. Dallas, I can't. I say I can't believe it. I can believe it because it's the Cowboys and people love betting the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 7-point favorites. 7 points. Now, I tend to believe a lot of what Vegas sells when it comes to betting lines. I'm not touching that. And I want to say Dallas is going to win, but after the way they lost that game, and then they came out and started belly aching and pointing fingers, not at themselves, but the refs, just too much. I get some of that, but not to that level. I got to think Philadelphia is going to win this game. Doesn't mean I don't think Dallas can go on a run in the playoffs because it changes so much when the playoffs start. But I'm not feeling that game on Saturday night.
Yeah, I'm opposite because I think that this is typical what the Cowboys to do. They'll, everybody's off the bandwagon and whatever else, and then they'll go out and win. And then you have to keep in mind that as of Tuesday, the Eagles have 12 people in the COVID protocols, including several starters and several key contributors. So, we don't know what they're going to have and what kind of team they're going to put out there on Sunday. So this is a game that, and again, the Cowboys and Dak have owned the NFC East. I mean, it's the NFC East. They're going to beat the NFC East, right? That's not the issue.
No, you can probably convince
everybody else.
Yeah. Thank God they don't play the AFC West. Want to ask you one more quick thing before we wrap it up here on Cowboys Overtime. Clarence, what are they going to do about their kicker? I know we hate talking about kickers, but you mentioned Greg Zuerlein's misses. This is Bones' guy. This is, they brought him in from the Rams because this is the special teams coach's guy. And he's got this great leg, and he can make it from 98 yards. But I don't know how anybody, and Jerry Jones said it this morning on his radio show, I don't know how anybody can have a lot of confidence right now in their kicker. And you and I both know those playoff games are going to be 3 points or less. Like they're going to need that guy to be making kicks, not doing this crap that he's been doing.
Yeah, my problem is that I don't know what you can do at this point. They're tied hip with him, but you're supposed to be automatic indoors. Under 40 indoors. That's what you're supposed to do. They're
Great
indoors.
point.
He's missing kicks at AT&T Stadium. And if you can't make them at home, what are you going to do in Green Bay?
Miss.
In the weather? That's the question. Is if you need a big kick in the playoffs, especially outdoors, because you set yourself up that if you do win, you'll probably have to go to Green Bay. The next week. Do you trust him to make a big kick outdoors? And right now, it's not even just the freaking field goals. It's
a point after attempt. Yeah, I don't. I can't remember the last time. No, the Cowboys had a really good kicker for a long time, in Dan Bailey. I can't remember the last time the Cowboys had a kicker like this, where you just can't trust him at all.
No,
not only trust him, but you fear every time he goes out for anything.
No, you just don't know what you're going to get, and the frustrating thing is that they're the coach and the special team coach act like he's automatic. They act like he's a kid in Baltimore, and he's not. And he's not a sure thing, and that's what's so great about my Longhorn in Baltimore, Tucker, is that he does it outdoors. He does it in the cold.
Yep.
Okay.
He's
always done it outdoors in the cold. When you have most of your games are indoors and you still are not automatic, that's a problem.
It is a problem, and he's going to be gone next season. We all know it. Clarence, has been fun. For all of your Dallas Cowboys coverage needs, make sure to check us out on StarTelegram.com. The Dallas Cowboys wrap up their regular season on Saturday night in Philadelphia against the Eagles. Clarence will be there. Be sure to join us here next week as we preview the unthinkable. The Dallas Cowboys will be in the playoffs. See you next week.
I will see you later.